That soul that on Jesus hath leaned for repose, I will not desert to its foes. That soul, though all hell should endeavor to shake, I'll never, no, never forsake. One of the problems with discipleship, you can't hide. If you're trying to disciple people, you can't hide who you are. You can't hide behind lots of books and materials. You've got to be a godly person. You've got to be a patient person. You've got to be a wise person. You've got to be someone who, the more people get to know you, the more impressed they are with your balance, with your, that you are, for example, most people have very strong temperaments. So some people are introverts, some people are extroverts. Some people tend to be very sweet and kind and tender, but not very bold. Other people tend to be dynamic and powerful, but not very sensitive. Everybody's got their temperament, and yet every temperament, that is every set of gifts, some people are prophetic, some people are priestly, some people are great leaders. Natural temperament always has a dark side. Always has a dark side. Because the natural temperament of a person participates in your idols, your idolatries. So if you are a pretty kind and peacemaking type person, pretty tender, pretty sweet-natured, it could be that's a temperament, but it also will probably participate in an approval idol. That is, you'll need one of the reasons you are that way is because you're good, because God has put that goodness in you. It's part of your temperament. It's part of God's sort of natural temperament, is part of God's common grace. But at the same time, you're probably too concerned about what people think about you. And as a result, at points in which you may need to make a hard call, you won't do it. On the other hand, a person who tends to be bold and dynamic, and everybody says, wow, what a leader, might participate in a power idolatry. So every part of your temperament has a dark side. And when you start to invite people into your life because you're discipling them, they're going to see those dark sides, and you're going to lose credibility unless by the supernatural growth of spiritual fruit. If you're a naturally bold person, you have actually developed the fruit of love and humility and gentleness. If you're a naturally a naturally sweet person, you develop the fruit of faithfulness. In other words, unless you really are a godly person, discipleship doesn't work. Because people are not going to really, really listen to what you're telling them if you bring them in and they see that you're really no better than anybody else. You're really no different than anybody else. You got your insecurities. You feel inferior about this. You've got prejudices. You got your big blind spots. Unless people see you being godly, they're not going to actually become disciples. You could turn them into lackeys, I suppose, especially if you have a dominant personality and they are needy enough. But I don't think you're going to produce disciples. And that's one of the big problems is you can't take people where you aren't yourself. And an awful lot of us are not actually very godly. We get passionate, we get committed, we get trained. But we haven't really grown in grace ourselves that much. And we have gaping holes in our holiness. And the people who know us best, like our spouses, know about it. But when you invite people in to disciple them, they'll start to see it too, and it can be pretty ineffective. Sorry to be so. That's a kind of a stark thing to say. But after many years of watching my own successes and failures in discipleship and other people's successes and failures, I think that's one of the reasons I can give for why so often we fail to create Christ-like people. The last thing I said was probably the ending piece, even though it was a bit of a downer.